Over the last couple years, one of the hottest lures in bass fishing have been dice baits. Well, they usually can be pretty hard to find. I'm going to show you where to find them. I'm going to show you how to build your own, and we're also going to go over a couple different ways of how you can fish them. All that and more on this edition of the Angler's Workshop. The issues with dice baits is one, they can be hard to find, and two, they can be really expensive. I'm going to show you a cost-effective way that you can build your own. For all my lure building supplies, I go to Lure Parts Online. With over 40,000 products to choose from, I'm going to show you the easiest way to find everything you need for those dice baits. Now, the first thing I'm going to do once I get to Lure Parts Online is I'm going to go to the search bar. Then I'm going to type in dice baits. That's going to take me to my choices. And Lure Parts has several different options for you. One is the ready-made dice baits, and they also have a video here, which I think is pretty cool, that shows you what one of the dice baits looks like underwater. Now, they have a bunch of different colors in this, but for you complete do-it-yourselfers, check this out right here. They also have molds available in different sizes, so you can get different sizes of the dice baits. There's a 3/8, there's a 5/8, there's a 1/2 inch size, so you can start from that and build your own. I'm just going to go back with the regular dice baits and take a look at those. Now here's where they start, and they come in 10 different colors, so I know what I have to choose from as a basis. Now I'm going to build baits for you guys today with two different colors, and the color that one of the colors is going to be Mud Puppy, and the other one is just going to be a simple green pumpkin. Okay, next thing I'm going to do now is I'm going to type in skirt material because I need to see what I'm going to use on the dice baits. So there you go. Now there's 52 results for skirt materials, and there's a whole bunch of different types, but I'm going to build a dice bait today with this plasma skirt material as well as this crimped silicone. Now, as you can see, when you click on this, you have a whole bunch of different colors just in this. Man, look how good that swim jig looks right there in this plasma skirt material. But there's a whole bunch of different colors that you can choose from. One of the best things about making your own lures is that you can literally choose from hundreds of different options that way, and you can make it completely different than anything that's in a store. So we're going to go with the plasma skirt material, and then we're going to do this crimp skirt material. Now, a lot of you probably have not seen this. This is some really cool material that's going to act completely different in the water. And as you can see, there are numerous colors to choose from as this. So now we have our dice cube baits and we have our material. Now there's one more piece to this puzzle, and we're going to start building. All right, so the last thing that we're going to need to build these dice baits is something called a dice cube threader. So I'm going to put that in right in the search bar. There it is right there. These are very, very inexpensive, and there's a whole bunch to a package in case you happen to lose one, but these just have a dull point on them, and they have an enlarged eye to get any of the skirt material through there. Now we have everything that we need. Let's go build those baits. All right, these are the Bass Academy Dice Cube baits, and they come in a 1/2 inch size and in 10 different colors. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how to thread the material through that dice bait. Now remember this, there is no certain way to do it. You can do whatever you want because you're making your own bait. You can make the strands shorter, you can make them longer, you can put them in at any angle you want. The sky's the limit. You can do whatever you want. I'm just going to show you how I've done it, and I'm going to show you my two most productive colors. So as you saw, there's only 3 parts to making your dice cube bait, and all the material comes packed in individual colors in packages just like this. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to take out one of what they call a tab, and you can see all all the skirt material right there. Now the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to cut off the first part of that tab. Now once I do that, that leaves the strands all individual, and I'm just going to try to pull them apart a little bit. I want them all loose, and that just takes a little bit, but it's no big deal. Just like that. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take that dice cube threader and I am just going to take 2 strands. That's how I'm going to start it. I'm going to start with 2 strands and pull it off that tab. Now the next thing I'm going to do is I am just going to feed it both those pieces right through the threader. Just like that. Now, this is the important part of when you first start putting the material through the dice cube, is you may want to have a tendency to pull it all the way through. Don't do that. All you want to do is just pull it slightly through there so you have a little tag end out the other side, and then pinch it down together, just like that. Now, I'm going to pick a spot on the dice cube where I'm going to insert the needle. Now, here's how I do it, and it's made it really easy. I usually make a dice cube with about 8 strands in there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start on one side of the dice bait and just push the needle through like that, and then I'm going to pull it. This is why I leave that one end short. Now when they start coming out, now I'm going to pull it through and even them out, just like so. And there's your first part of your dice bait. Now I'm going to go through and I'm going to put them through 6 different ways through here. And like I said, you can do as many ways as you want. Now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to keep doing that. And I take 2 strands. You can take 1 strand. You can take 3 strands. It's completely up to you. You can also really make this dice really full by putting as many strands as you want through it, and then cut them short to make it more like a fuzzy ball. There's a reason I leave the strands longer on here. And that reason is because I've noticed, and we'll go over this a little bit more when I show you how to rig it, is that when you leave the strands longer, when you move that bait, like on a drop shot or another way on a small jig head that I'm going to show you how to fish it, is when you move it, the bait has a tendency to pulse with those longer strands. When you stop the bait, then they have a tendency to all fall out more. They're always moving. When you leave those strands longer like that, any current in the water at all, any movement of your rod tip on that line, and these literally look alive in the water. So that's why I leave it that way. Now, one of the questions that I've been asked over this last year, since I've been fishing these a lot more, is, well, why do fish hit it? I'll be honest with you. I have no idea. I've never seen anything besides maybe a little insect in the water that it looks like. But don't give human qualities to fish. We all remember when the wacky worm first came out, or maybe some of you did back in the late 90s. I thought that was crazy. There's no way that just a sinking piece of plastic is going to catch fish. We've all known how successful that's been, probably one of the most successful lures of all time. Think back to when you first found out about the Ned rig. That's a short little piece of plastic, does absolutely nothing. Now we found out after over a decade that it catches not only freshwater but saltwater fish as well. Just because it doesn't look like something to you doesn't mean it doesn't look like something to a fish. And when it comes right down to it, as long as they hit it, who cares what it really looks like to us? I will tell you this thing, after a year of fishing this, they flat out work. Let's continue to build that bait.
Tonight's gonna be alright. I'm gonna hold my baby close in the pale lamp light, 'cause it's been such a long time. To the music with her by my side. Lord, I love to see my baby smile. She's living Southern style. Living Southern style. I can hear that diesel revving. I sure hope the law won't slow me down.
All right, that's how easy it is to build one of these dice cube baits. Now I'm going to show you maybe an unconventional way, but the first way that I ever fished it, because I was wondering when I first found out about these, I'm like, okay, how am I going to fish this thing? And you know, I thought about a drop shot. I figured that was going to work, and we'll get to that in a little bit. But one of the ways I wanted to try it was I wanted it to do a slow fall on the bottom. Now, I've seen people do it with nail weights by putting a little nail weight in there, and I didn't have any at the time when I was doing it. So what I used, this is just a VMC wacky jig in 1/16 ounce, and I wanted this to fall slow. So what I did is I just took the dice bait and I took the smaller side of it and I just rigged the hook just like so, just like that. So now when it falls, this is going to fall just like a wacky hook would, but it's going to fall slow, and these strands are just going to kind of come together. As soon as it comes toward the bottom, they just all spread out. Almost looks like a little spider or a little octopus. Now you're going to think there's no way that's going to work. I got news for you, and this is the honest truth. My second cast I made with this, just walking the bank of a farm pond, I caught a bass, and how he hit it, he creamed it. It actually took me by surprise. This is one way that instead of fishing a wacky worm, and where this also will work really good on is if you're fishing really clear water around boat docks, this is a very unobtrusive bait that may just look like a little bug or a little crayfish going through the water. Whatever it looks like I said before, it just flat out works. Now I'm going to build you my most productive dice bait. This is the one that I caught the most fish on last year. Largemouth. As a matter of fact, some of you crappie guys are going to love to hear this. Crappies really like these dice baits. And what I've noticed is I left the strands a little bit shorter, but I've caught them on a drop shot doing it, and I'm sure there's other ways you can do it for crappies. Matter of fact, I would say probably throwing it weightless, because there's actually two types of dice baits that Lure Parts Online has. They have the original, and then they have a sinking model as well, so you can really customize your dice baits in that way as well. So now I'm going to take that plasma skirt material, and we're going to insert it inside this dice bait, and you're going to see my #1 lure from last year when it comes to dice baits. Okay, so I'm going to do exactly the same thing with this plasma skirt material. And this is even more flexible, so in my opinion, it's easier to work with. So I'm going to thread it through the same way, where you just have a little bit of a tag end, and then you pinch down on that, and I'm just going to pick a spot in the cube, and we're going to push it through. Make sure you hold your thumb there all the way till it gets to the plastic. That will help keep it inserted easier, and then you can pull it through. And it's a lot easier to pull it through that way. Now, there's the start of that cube. Let's finish off the rest of it.
Girl, I can smell your Cajun cooking. Taste the hurricane downtown. Tonight's gonna be alright. I'm gonna hold my baby close in the pale lamplight, 'cause it's been such a long time. The French Quarter and a bottle of wine. Listen to the music with her by my side. Lord, I love to see my baby smile. She's living Southern style. Living Southern style.
Okay, and there's the finished dice bait. Now, when you get rolling on this thing, you can do this whole pack of 8. That's how they come. You can do this whole pack of 8 in 15 to 20 minutes. And surprisingly enough, these dice baits last a really long time. The other way that I'm going to show you how to rig it, I've literally had it on a drop shot all day, 1 or 2 baits. Okay, so once you get done making them, it's not like you're going to be going through a whole bunch of them during the day. They stay on the hook really well. And the most effective way that I have used this one right here is on a drop shot. Now, when it comes to rigging a dice on a drop shot, I have found out a couple things that I think will be really helpful for you. Usually on a drop shot, depending on water clarity, I will rig my drop shot on 8 to 12 pound test. I have found that I get more bites and a little bit better action on the dice bait if I never go higher than 10-pound test. And you may say, well, how do you know that you get better action? Because I've actually taken it in really clear, shallow water where I can see it and see how the bait falls. I'm okay with 10 and really gin clear water. I'll probably drop down to 8. But in my opinion, because fluorocarbon line sinks, gives the bait a lot more natural appeal. So the hook and the sinker that I use on it also makes a difference. Now, when I'm rigging it, I am going to rig it on a VMC spin shot hook. And if you look at this hook, it actually has a swivel on the hook, so that hook rotates. So one, you don't have any line twist with it. I absolutely love this for fishing a drop shot, but this is a size 1. I've used a size 1 and a size 2, whatever you feel comfortable with. Largemouth 2 is a little bit bigger hook. I feel more comfortable with that. With smallmouth, I've used either 1 or 2, and it's been perfectly fine. So how we're going to do that is we're just going to take that spin shot hook, and then I am going to take the dice bait. And again, you have a thinner, not thinner, but a more narrow side to the dice bait and a wider side. Not by much, but a little bit. So I am going to take the more narrow side and I am going to rig it right through the hook like so. That's how it's going to stand. So now, and the reason I do that, I really like when it falls. Now, most of the time, I'm going to be fishing probably a quarter round sinker. If it's really windy or I'm fishing a little deeper, maybe over 14 or 15 foot, then I may go to 3/8. But in most cases, that quarter round sinker, in my opinion, has a really nice fall to that bait. It's really interesting when you watch it, and I don't fish it all the time with forward-facing sonar, but if you, like Humminbird Mega Live 2, if you happen to be using that and you watch the bait fall, it's really interesting. Sometimes you'll see a fish follow it all the way down. It hits the bottom, it has that stop, and that's when they'll grab it. Doesn't matter if you have forward-facing sonar or not for what I'm going to tell you next. When you are paying attention to this bait, there's a couple things that I can tell you that will help you get bit a little bit more. One of them is, most of the time on the drop shot, on a dice bait, I am just barely dragging the bait. When I've done that in shallow water, I have noticed that it does, what I mentioned before, look like a little bit of an octopus, or maybe even a little crab or shrimp, whatever, moving. And what I'm doing with the rod is I am just dragging it and barely moving it. When I'm doing it, then those strands kind of hang out behind that bait and they come together just like so. What I'm going to do with the rod tip when I stop is I'm actually just going to pump the rod tip, or what I call pulsing the bait. So I'm going to have slack in it, but what I'm doing is I'm just barely moving that rod tip. You're going to get better at that by doing it in shallow water first. You'll realize how long your leader length is, and then what you're going to do is you're going to pump that rod tip to make that bait move and make that bait pulse. What you're going to feel on this bait a lot is not a real solid strike. A lot of the time you're going to be doing that and all of a sudden it's weight. Okay? Feel down and all of a sudden you just feel the fish pulling down or swimming with it. There's another way that they will strike this. I don't know if it's out of curiosity or they're not sure what it is, but I've had this happen a number of times and they let go of the bait. Here's how to get them to come back. Sometimes I'll pick up on the bait, there'll be pressure and then nothing there. The next thing I do is slightly drop the rod tip and shake it. So I'm just sitting there shaking it. Hold it there for a second and all of a sudden that weight comes back. It's not a solid strike. It just goes from weight to no weight, drop it and shake it, wait again, and then just pull back and set the hook. 9 times out of 10, by doing that drop and doing a subtle shake with it, gets whatever fish was looking at it to come back and grab it. It's like it's not like, it is. It's my most effective way to fish this, because sometimes I'll just sit it there, drop it down, shake it a little bit, and then pull it back up. A lot of times on that slight little fall and that shake, that's when they're going to bite it. And when you set the hook, the cool thing about this, they suck it all the way in. Your hooking percentage on a dice bait, from what I've found at this point, is very good. But I'm going to show you one of my favorite baits to drop shot and how you can fuzz it up the same way we were doing with dice. This is the Bass Academy Primetime worm, okay? And this is made with a floating plastic. So I use it a lot on a Nico rig, and I also use it on a shaky head. But I'm going to show you how to insert some of those strands in here and make it one awesome drop shot bait. Okay, so the material I'm using on this is actually round rubber skirt material. It acts different than the plasma and the crimp material. That's a great thing about making your own. I've tried a bunch, I haven't tried them all, but I've tried a bunch of different skirt materials, and rubber looks really cool in the water too, especially on this worm. So let's put it through that threader and put it in that worm. All right, so what I'm gonna do with this bait is I actually took 3 strands of this rubber material, and I'm gonna start right behind the solid part of the head, and I'm gonna run it right through. This is a green pumpkin gold strand material, and I'm gonna do that a couple different times on this, but that's how it starts out. Now we're gonna finish it. And you're going to nose hook this bait. So that way, when it's out there, that bait is just going to stand out like this, and it's going to be, you won't even have to move it, and this thing will be moving. Those strands will be doing all kinds of crazy stuff underwater. And I always suggest to you that if you're not sure what a bait does, don't guess. Put it in shallow water where you can see it and make it do exactly what you want. You'll be impressed by this. And the other good thing about this is usually if a bass hits this, it's not going to be the smallest one in the school. You're going to have a really good shot at getting a big fish to hit a much bigger bait. And that's how easy it is to make your own dice baits. To make it even easier for you, I left you a 10% off discount code that you can use at checkout at Lure Parts Online. Thanks for joining me. God bless you. I'm Jim Crowley. Until next time, I'll see you in the Angler's Workshop.